now. Good evening. Good morning, good afternoon, whenever you are watching. This is episode 3 of Dismal Disney, the show where we give you our honest takes on all things Disney because we are in no way affiliated with the Walt Disney Company. My name is Ben. Down there, that is Ollie, and this week we have special guest David Zaslav, also known as my Chasing Descent partner, John. So good evening, guys. How are you?
Good evening.
Ben, thanks.
Yeah, it's lovely to see you again, Ollie. Sitting there with your iPad in your Disney room.
Yeah, just chilling, got a bit of rum just to make the evening go by nicely.
That's fantastic, man. John, how are you this evening?
I'm well, thank you, Ben. Yes, I have a small libation here as well. Just chilling as your friend Ollie.
Yes, and so for stream's sake, John, that's Ollie. Ollie, that's John.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello, indeed. Okay, so we are not doing introductions anymore. You don't know who we are. Who cares? Let's get into it, Ollie. What do you want to cover first?
First of all, Ben, let's go to Disney World specifically, that we've heard of. We've heard of Disney World enacting this policy specifically, probably going to spread throughout the rest of the parks very quickly, if it hasn't already. Walt Disney World cast members now using friend and other gender-neutral terms to promote inclusivity from Walt Disney World News Today. They are, obviously recently we heard, well, actually I think it's probably last year actually now, wasn't it? Maybe in the year before, I can't remember, when they did away with ladies and gentlemen in the park announcements.
Yeah.
And now they're taking it a step further. They're referring to guest as friend. It doesn't specify whether this is kids yet or not.
Right.
It sounds like it might just be to adults. It doesn't specify who they're saying it to, but it worries me mainly because they refer to children as prince and princess.
Well, this is correct.
That is a huge part of A, the company's history, and B, why people go to the parks, because they're kids, princes and princesses.
Well, this is it. I mean, loads of little girls, they go to have, princess makeovers and things like that. And they want to be the little princess at Disney. And if they do put this policy upon children, it may well be confusing for them.
I think you're right. I mean, we heard that they got rid of fairy godmothers, didn't they, recently? Fairy godmothers have gone, and they're now apprentices. So, whether they're going to actually bring this right down to kids and completely destroy their experience, we don't know. They're certainly skirting it around the edges for the adults.
John, what have you got to say?
Well, as a Scotsman, I don't really like people calling me friend unless they've bought me a drink.
It's true of everybody.
Okay, so it's just more woke nonsense, isn't it, guys? Right? They're upset about possibly offending less than 1% of the population, and that's at the detriment to the other 99%. And it's less than 1% of the population. And yes, people do want to be some people do want to be referred to in gender neutral terms, but at the same time, should everyone else and everything else have to change around to accommodate them? That's the question.
It seems to be that's what happens in the world as it is just now, because no matter how many people don't take on the latest trend, it's always the small percentage that are the most vocal that get their way. I mean, look at things like look at things like Greta Thunberg, and they promote things that really people don't know or care about that much, and yet that small vocal minority gets their way. And the same goes for gender, and the same goes across the board for everything. It's always the small vocal minority that gets the way and changes society, believe it or not.
Yeah.
What we don't know, Ben, is that we don't know if this is actually company policy or if this is just something which has spread around the cast members of their own accord. I would probably say it's the latter. I know that Disney do dictate certain things. I'm not sure whether they would dictate this specifically, and so I don't know whether it probably will catch on among the younger cast members, but you're not going to like. There's cast members at Disney World that have worked there since it opened. You know, they're
Yeah.
not going to be. They're not going to be doing this, even if they're told to. They're A, not going to want to, or B, they just won't. It won't stick with them. It's not something they would naturally do.
Yeah, no, and this is natural. That's kind of a good word, isn't it? Because naturally, we all look at a little boy and a little girl, and we think little boy, little girl. That's natural. But we are being told to suspend our view of reality. And once again, I'm not trying to insult anybody. I'm not trying to say people don't have a right to live as they choose. They absolutely do. But in your right to live as you choose, what you don't have the right to do is dictate what everybody else says, what everybody else does, how everybody else lives. And those two things are both true. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you.
I think that certainly in Disney parks where, you know, there's such emphasis on the princess experience, I feel like this could be something which is common sense for cast members. It's something which, if they look at a girl and they know it's a girl wearing a princess costume, they're going to call her princess. If they see a boy wearing a prince costume, they're going to call him prince. If they're not sure, if they think it might be a girl wearing a prince costume or a boy wearing a princess costume, then I think they could use their own common sense and they could think, oh, maybe I'll be a bit more understanding here. But it comes down to people wanting to be offended for no reason. If a cast member comes at you with good intentions and with a polite manner, it is the fault of the person being offended if they're offended, if they make a genuine mistake.
Absolutely. Offence is taken, it's not given. And we've come to a point where, because of this loud vocal minority, we are sort of turning reality on its head and saying that, you know, people can decide whether we intended to offend somebody. And people are losing their jobs, and people are losing everything over saying things that used to be extremely normal / nebulous. And we're allowing this to happen. And it just frustrates me to absolutely no end. And I do wonder, how do we come back from this? How do we get society back on a sane path?
Well, I don't think we can. I think this is the end times and we're living through them. I mean, I know it sounds quite doom and gloom, but the title of the show is Dismal Disney. But I really don't think we've got any way back from this, because you're never going back to how we had it before on so many levels.
My genuine self would agree with you, John, on that one. I would see the pessimistic end of times myself, but I also think this is a trend. I think there's enough people now in positions of power who are reacting against it, like Liz Truss, like the head of Warner Brothers. Chapek, I think, is he's covertly anti-woke.
Yeah, I think he's terrified of them, and I think he's trying to do it covertly.
Yeah, Chapek's only playing the game. He's not. He literally doesn't. I'm not saying he doesn't care about people, but he is very money orientated. We know that. So
absolutely,
I'm hopeful this is a trend. I'm hopeful it'll pass. Like, of course, there's, you know, like you were saying, it's 1% of people. It's 1% of people.
And once again, nobody here on this show is saying that people don't have the right to live how they want. Don't have the right to identify it how they want. They absolutely do, right? Their existence, everybody's existence it matters, and it matters equally. But what we are saying is this: what you don't have the right to do is dictate to us. You don't have the right to dictate to Ollie here, or John here, or myself, or anybody what language we use, what we see as reality, right? Your reality is your reality, and our reality is our reality, and you don't have the right to encroach upon our reality. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, like generations always clashed against each other, and you know, there's always been some kind of like reaction from the youth against the established order. But I feel like this has permeated a bit too far now.
Yes, absolutely. But how do we come back from it? How do we come back from it? We do see these CEOs and like you say, people in positions of power pushing back against this. However, is it too little, too late? And that is my worry.
Well, it's a really difficult thing because I think there's a lot more involved than just, it's not just the woke people.
Yeah,
This whole thing around ESG and the influence of mega corporations,
yeah,
and them making other corporations follow certain rules. Even the UN with a Sustainable Development Group, and
yeah,
these things are all pushing corporations and people within those corporations and governments to try and go down particular routes that people really probably don't want to do. And I think it's very, very difficult to pull back from that because at the moment it seems to be taking us on a helter-skelter ride the wrong way.
yeah. No, I agree with you. And unfortunately, I mean, we cover a lot of this stuff. Me and John do over on our main channel over on Chasing Dissent, where we cover the news, right? And he's absolutely right. This is not just, unfortunately, a militant, loud, vocal minority of people doing this anymore. It's a mega corporations. It's BlackRock. It's Vanguard. And these people basically own the world, and they are pushing this stuff. And at what point will they turn heel? Will they turn heel? Will they see the writing on the wall and change tactic? And I think it comes down to that, really.
Well, we need entertainment companies like Netflix, which are starting to do the right thing because they're now listening to their customers because their customers have been leaving them in droves because of what they were trying to do. They were trying to artificially keep their ESG score up.
Yeah,
and it was doing no good whatsoever.
With terrible productions like Cuties, which, is essentially child voyeurism.
Almost.
But no, and that is once again that I would say that is a promising thing. And what Warner's doing, right? They just threw Batgirl. They shit canned Batgirl and the Wonder Twins, and apologies for swearing there. But Batgirl was pretty much $100 million into development. It was shot, it was filmed, it was test screening, visual effects were done.
It was all done, wasn't it? Yeah.
And this will not come out. It will not come out on HBO Max. It will not come out in cinemas. And
they're not even putting it on straight to video. It's going in the actual bin.
Yeah, and the writing behind the wall, I should say, or the voices behind the wall are saying that it was because it was so woke, it was irredeemable. That's what we're hearing. And if that is the case, and they have done this because of that, then maybe that is a turning point. But yeah.
Well, we might see with Disney if they greenlight Eternals 2, which way they're going to go.
Oh my God, Eternals!
Oh. What a film, eh? What? Oh my God! What?
It was so bad. It was so bad.
But to give you some perspective, Ollie, it was the first movie I'd seen in the cinema in something like 3 years because of the situation and the inability for me to go to the cinema, especially since at that point I lived in France.
Yeah, it was even worse.
So we were in Sweden and we went to the cinema and we sat and watched Eternals for 2.5 hours or 3 days. I'm not quite sure. It seemed like, but it did drag. But
I fell asleep. I genuinely fell asleep. Like I waited for it until it was on Disney Plus, and it was just awful. I was surprised at how bad it was. Like I knew I'd heard it was bad, but it was just so bland and meaningless.
Visually, it was quite a nice movie.
Oh yeah, it had beautiful visuals.
Well, it did, but it did have beautiful, but it just felt unreal. It didn't feel like it was a bit like I know they weren't using the volume because that's Lucasfilm, but it felt a bit like they were using the volume where like it was just nothing felt real. It was just like crash bang. It was almost like it was just paper thin.
Speaking of the volume, Andor, which is now been moved to September, by the way. But
they're not making. Is this a series?
So this is the first Star Wars series to not be shot on the volume, right?
With Ewoks.
No, and Andor, not Endor.
Oh my God!
John, are you a fan of Ewoks by any chance?
Sorry.
Are you a fan of Ewoks? Don't just throw Ewoks around casually.
I hate Ewoks.
Ewoks are my favorite thing ever.
He loves
no.
Ewoks.
No, I
You
hate.
said no.
I hate Ewoks. Ewoks are just slightly better than Jar Jar Binks.
Wow. I'm trying to grab an Ewok right now. I've got loads, but I can't do it without disturbing anything. So yeah, we'll move on.
Well, so for next Saturday show, make sure you've got a few Ewoks in
I'll
frame
get some
there.
to hand. Yeah, they're all around
Yeah.
me, but I don't want to. I'll pull a whole mountain of plush on top of me if I do so.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I'm guessing you've got Wicket.
Of course, I've got Wicket. I've got Wicket probably 5 or 10 times in different
bloody
forms.
hell! You've got 5 or 10 different forms of Warwick Davis as a teddy bear.
Yeah. Quick positive plug though. The Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation came out on Disney Plus yesterday, and it is good. Ostensibly, it is a promotion for the Galactic Star Cruiser at Walt Disney World, but the 3 basically like the wraparound story is there in the Star Cruiser in Disney World.
Okay.
But there's 3 individual stories in it which are good, and the 3rd one is set on Endor. I lost my shit.
Okay, that's really cool actually, and I will check it out. So that's something positive.
Positive. I apologize for being positive, but I think that's my role. My role is to be
We're
positive.
allowed to do positive as well, but we do have to point out where things are going wrong. And with that, Ollie, take us to our next story.
Okay, so over the last few years, on Twitter specifically, and obviously wider in Instagram, that kind of stuff, Disney adults have been annoying the general public, and this manifested itself. I think probably the first time I remember it manifesting itself, maybe 2015, 2016, and every few months since then, some mainstream random would tweet, "I hate Disney adults," or "Disney adults are weird," and Disney fandom would destroy them. They would literally they would just troll them for months and months until the next person came along to troll. And it wasn't until Rolling Stone on June 21st published this article, "How Disney Adults Became the Most Hated Group on the Internet," that it went mainstream for the first time.
Okay.
So I feel like we've reached, a high watermark of people like the mainstream actually realizing, well, the Disney adults A exist, and that B, they don't like them.
Yeah, but what do they mean by a Disney adult, right? Because I would ostensibly put us in that category. However,
hold on. Don't include us all in that category.
he's just a drunk Scotsman. But other than that, right? But I would put me and Ollie in that category, right? That we're adults who enjoy going to the park. However, there is a however here, because there are 2 very distinct different types of Disney adult, I would say, and I think we fall into the rarer side of it that aren't loudmouthed woke idiots screaming on Twitter all day.
I would agree with you.
Yeah. And I mean, we've been in that community of those Disney adults that fight each other to become influencers, right?
Yeah.
And they do.
They are just vicious, selfish, self-obsessed, just what's the word? Narcissistic humans. So
no, I absolutely. I had to spend lots of time with these people in person, and I'm telling you now, it was not much different. But the only difference is they act all nicey to each other's faces, and then the second that they leave each other, they're stabbing each other in the back. And these people are wanting to become influencers for the Walt Disney Company. It's like at the heart of it, the Walt Disney Company is an entertainment brand for families and children, right? And these I don't need to repeat all of the things you said, but these people, I guess, feel like they deserve to be the faces of that brand.
Well, I think what's happened is since the advent of social media, people have realized, we've met a couple ourselves along the way. People have they've been on social media, they've got a few hundred followers, but they're not really making any headway. They see Disney sponsoring effectively influencers, giving them free holidays, giving them early access, giving them freebies, and they thought, oh, that's a good racket. I'll change my account, which has 2,000 followers, because I go out and do drugs all the time, and
I know what you're referencing specifically here.
I will change my account to a Disney account, and all Disney will see is the followers that I have, and they will give me free shit. And so you've got every single wannabe narcissist thinks, oh, I'm a Disney fan now. So there's people like me who I would categorize as a Disney historian, in the fact that I like the history of the company. I like the Imagineers. I know that people worship the Imagineers. And there's a large group of people that worship the Imagineers and like going to Disney parks for that reason. But I would say that's maybe 10% of fans.
Yeah.
So the rest of them are just either casual Disney fans who thought, I'm going to buy a lot of Loungefly bags and take pictures in front of the castle all day.
Yeah.
Or they literally, like I was just saying, they saw a fandom which was easy to exploit, and they've done it.
John, do you want to come in on this?
Well, you know what? Every entertainment stream has its fans, right?
Yeah.
And really, I'll be honest, I don't see that any Disney fans are any worse than any others. I mean, look at Trekkies, Bronies.
Okay, so are Trekkies woke?
Well, some of them probably are now.
Yeah, but this group, we can't stress to you enough, John. Right, we've been part of this group, and they are awful.
Okay, right. So this is the part I need to clarify here. Are you talking about Disney adults as in Disney fans, or are you talking about Disney adults as just the ones who are trying to be influencers?
We're talking about those specifically, and I believe this article really is zeroing in on those, because you would be surprised how many of them there are, John.
But
yeah.
You look
John,
at,
John, hang on one second. John, hang on one second. Let me break it down for you. So you've got predominantly Disney fans who, before the advent of social media, worship the films, they worship the parks for their, their magic and their entertainment and their excitement. And then you've got people who joined since probably 2014, 15, who just wanted to exploit it for the fashion, the trend, and the advantages. So with being a Disney fan, being a Disney fan is not cheap. And so a large majority of them have money. And so it means that there's a lot more Karens in Disney fandom than there otherwise would be in most fandoms. And there's also what has been termed as childless millennials. So people who still live at home, don't have any bills, have no responsibilities, and so exploit their parents for free holidays, basically, effectively.
Yeah, and when we talk about this group of people, John, they are large in number. Okay, they are very large in number. People who want to be this, and they, like I said, they fight each other, and they stab each other in the back, and then they all go and have meetups and have a wonderful time together for the photos, right? Mm-hmm. It's mind-numbing.
I take it like the other parks don't have this problem, like Universal.
No, definitely not. No. It's specific. It's literally Disney specific. Universal fans are generally drunk guys in their 40s.
Yeah.
Of which I am one, but I'm not a Universal fan, but I could be. Yeah. You've got UK theme park fans who are mostly families with their kids or teenagers. But Disney has cultivated this particular ecosystem for some reason.
Yeah, so is this Disney problem, is a Disney generated problem, not a problem that Disney has generated by having a park, but a problem that Disney, the corporation, has generated.
I would,
feeding the group.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, but yeah, they definitely fed the problem, because they do sponsorships. They sponsor influencers in certain ways. Now, it doesn't mean that they'll pay them any money specifically, but they will give them free holidays. They'll give them exclusive events. They'll give them exclusive areas where they can snap their pictures and show off what a great time they're having. And they have to share this out on social media, obviously. Disney are asking people to do this. And then other people think, I want that. And then they start fighting one another. And I mean, just when me and Lisa with Disabled, we got that off Disney, the people that already had it were jealous of us. And it was really weird.
Because you got even more access than they did, Ben. That's why. You got even more access than they did.
Well, yeah, but also we turned down
And
free
I mean,
trips. We always paid for our trips. Like,
well, no, of course, but like in their eyes, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying you were at fault for any reason. I'm saying in their eyes, you were, because of the nature of your conditions, you were seem to be getting more, and so that's why they fought you.
yeah, I mean, these are the same people who we went to an event once, and I'll give you an example. These people wanted to be the first people in line to meet a character. So what they did was they got a friend who had a mild disability to get them into the event via the disability access entrance. And then the second they were in, they ran like fucking no tomorrow.
Half cripple will travel.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, but there was about 15 of them and one mildly disabled person with them.
Yeah.
And they left her behind and they just ran past every other disabled person the second that the disabled gate opened, because that was what opened first. And they were like, oh, we want to, I think it was Oswald and Hortensia was
Yeah,
the
in
was
the
the meet.
studios. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. And they wanted to be the first there, so they just they exploited a disabled person, and then they left their disabled person behind and did a runner. This is the type of people that we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
Mind-boggling, it really is.
And I can understand why they've become the most hated category of people on the internet, because they are insufferable. They are insufferable.
But are they the most hated category of people on the internet in real terms?
Well, probably
I'm aware
not.
of.
It's just, well, I'm not so sure. It may be the Rolling Stone being hyperbolic here, but at the same time, I mean, I've met some of these people, and some of these people have turned out to be actual criminals, haven't they, Ollie?
Yeah, we have experienced genuine
Yep,
crimes being committed.
we have by these people, or at least one of these people, anyway. Um, it's we won't go any further than that. We won't say what the crime was or name the person. We'll say it's serious, but other than that,
Yeah. But that's not.
the-
I mean, that person was probably the most prolific in the UK, I would say, of his exploitation. Oh, I mentioned it was a he, and his, the level of his crime. But in the States, there's probably 5 or 6 that I could name of equal measure to him as well. So obviously, being in Europe, there's less Disney fandom. It's concentrated in the UK, whereas in the States, it's Disney fandom kind of permeates almost every household in the States, whereas over here it's kind of more localized.
yeah.
But like there's I could name 5 to 10 kind of people that have committed serious crimes.
And we won't name anybody, and that thing we won't name anybody. We won't even allude. We will,
No.
you said it's a he, and that's as far as we will go, right?
Well, there's he's and there's he's and she's. There's there's she's and there's all kinds of every
Gender
denomination.
neutrals. Yeah,
Well, of course, I imagine there are some.
I imagine that's probably going to be this.
Luke.
Okay, yeah. Let's leave that there, right? And
Certainly,
I know some people will be angered by us talking about these things in that way, but hey, all we're doing is telling you the truth in a no holds barred kind of way. And with that, Ollie, are we moving on to? Is it Halloween next?
Yeah, I was thinking we should talk about Halloween. I will admit off the bat
Hold on.
that
Hold
I
on.
am.
It's 3 months till Halloween.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
I'll
John.
get to that, John. Give me 1 second.
That's a quarter of a year.
I mean, I will explain.
Hold on, John.
I will explain. So, off the bat, I'll admit to you, I am a Halloween whore. I would celebrate it all year round. I would have my house decorated 24/7. But my point for discussion is playing devil's advocate. Walt Disney World started decorating Main Street yesterday with pumpkins. The first Halloween party starts next Friday, which will be the middle of August. I can't think of the date right now because I've drunk too much rum.
Friday will be the 12th. It's not even the
12th. Thank you very much. So yeah, the first Halloween party will be the 12th, and they will run through until the first week of November. Obviously, the state celebrates Halloween balls out. It's their fucking it's their most celebrated.
Yeah, they do go balls to the wall over there. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's permeated to the UK now as well. And I am a total whore for it. I will totally admit that. But like you were saying, John, the layman on the street Is he surprised that Disney fans start celebrating Halloween on August the 5th? Go.
Well, yeah. I mean, 3 months till Halloween. Three months, a quarter of a year.
Yeah.
Hell, that's a bit much.
And to
Like,
me,
That's like,
not even Christmas gets that. Christmas gets 2 months now. It used to be Christmas got 1 month.
yeah.
Now Christmas starts on November the 1st. But Christmas doesn't even get 3 months, whereas Halloween now gets 3 months.
well, to me, that says, right, and we can link it right back to the talking about woke within the company, right? To me, this says that Bob Chapek is a money man, because the Halloween parties, like Ollie said, they are not cheap, are they, Ollie?
I'm going.
So how much did you pay for your ticket?
When are you going? Where are you
I'm going in the first week of October, and the tickets range from $100 to $200 a night, and that starts at 7 p.m. goes to midnight. Obviously, the park closes. Magic Kingdom closes at I think 7. Yeah, I'm not sure the exact times, but basically I think wristband holders can get in from 5, but everyone else is kicked out at 7. Then you have to have a wristband, a party ticket to get in for 7. And then you've got parades, you've got fireworks, you've got shows, you've got free candy, you've got everything from 7 till midnight. Like no queues on all the rides. I've forgotten what the question was. Sorry.
So how much you paid for your ticket?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. It was $160 for the first week of August. Sorry, October. What am I talking about? October.
And that's for a 5-hour event.
Yeah. Which I think is probably roughly the same price you'd pay for a day ticket for Walt Disney World, but I could be wrong.
That's $32 an hour, roughly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually doesn't sound like too bad a value, to be fair, because you won't have anywhere near the amount of crowds that you have during the day, will you?
Yeah.
No, you've nailed it. Exactly, you've nailed it. Like, in a way, it's better to go for an event. I know they do all kinds of other events throughout the year at Disneyland and Anaheim and at Walt Disney World, where they do evening events. So basically, you pay for a day ticket on one of those days, but you don't go to the party. You don't get any fireworks in the evening. You're kicked out at 7. And you pay the same amount. Whereas if you pay the $160 for the first week of October or $200 for the last week of October, you get, you're right. You get like half the crowd. You get the best shows. You get free candy all evening. So it's a win-win. It's a win for the company. It's a win for the guest as well.
It doesn't sound like a bad deal.
Why are we doing it in August?
Yeah, but I'll bet Disneyland Paris hasn't got pumpkins up.
No, because Disneyland Paris has 2 Halloween parties, and that's it every year.
Yeah, well, France hasn't twigged to Halloween yet.
Yeah, they have 2 Halloween. They may have more this year, I don't know, but up until this year, it's always been 2, and obviously they haven't been doing them the last couple of years.
Europe doesn't do Halloween.
But this going back, like I said, going back to the woke thing, this tells me Bob Chapek is a money man. This tells me Bob Chapek knows these tickets sell. Bob Chapek knows people will attend these events. And all he cares about more than anything is what the company is going to make from these events. And if he could do them in June, I think he would.
Well, you know what? You get away with it in Florida, though, because it gets dark really quickly. Because it's pretty far south, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. But like I said, if he could get away with these parties in June, I think they would be in June. I think because they trialed it in August. Was it last year or the year before? They first went for August. And I think when people turned up and these parties were pretty much a sellout, they were rubbing their hands together in the boardroom going, we got to do more of this, boys.
Yeah, why not?
They're basically getting twice the money. They're basically getting twice the entrance fee per day.
Yeah. So to the layman on the street, going back to your question, Ollie, absolutely this seems really odd, right? Disney are doing Halloween parties in August, but to the board, to the financial department, they're going, hey.
What is it they say? If you build it, they will come.
If you build it, they will come. And so, right, obviously they are a for-profit company, and this is what many of the Disney adults fail to understand when they're telling them to do all this woke stuff that's going to lose them money. right? This is a for-profit company, and what's the saying? You get woke, you go broke. So they're doing things to make money, and don't knock it. I don't knock it. If people are going to attend them, why not?
Yeah, fair dues.
Yeah.
Do Universal do Halloween parties?
They do Halloween Horror Nights, and my God, is it good.
They are sick. They're like absolutely unreal. I've never been to one, but just watching them online, they look amazing.
I love Universal.
We're going to have to do some Chasing Descent content or some Liberty content.
I went to Universal in 2017.
He did.
And we stayed at the Lowe's Royal Pacific Resort. And we checked in, and the guy goes, "How long are you staying for?" And I said, 14 nights. he just about had a coronary. He goes, "Nobody stays here for 14 nights." We were in the park every day.
Yeah, awesome. Sounds great. But I think we have to do some either Liberté content or some Chasing Descent content from Halloween Horror Nights. And that's got to be something we do, because that is just insane.
I mean, I can't believe John hasn't heard of them, because, like, I'm not sure if you're a horror film fan generally, John, but
it used to be.
every single major franchise of horror film, and even the small ones, has had like some kind of horror maze or some kind of event at Halloween Horror Nights at Universal. And so, like, Saw, Friday the
Stranger
13th, Nightmare on Elm
Things,
Street, like Purge, Stranger Things, everything has had their own maze, their own event at Halloween Horror Nights.
And they have these things called scare zones as well, which are awesome.
Yeah.
Money.
We don't have money yet, John.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we do have money, we'll do it.
Then is that doing Halloween? Does that do Halloween stuff?
Where?
Alton Towers.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the best Halloween events in the UK happen at Fort Park. Fort Park Fright Nights is really good. And
your ticket cover that?
Huh?
Does your ticket cover that?
No, you have to pay £5 extra.
Well, that's fine.
Wow.
Yeah.
£5 extra. That is insane.
You want to do it this year?
Yeah, why not?
Ollie, do you want to do Fort Park Fright Nights? If you're in the country.
If it works with my schedule, I mean, I'm out of the country for like 3 weeks of like September and October. So yeah, if it works, then definitely.
We'll pick a date that works around you, and so we'll do something.
Saturday?
Yeah,
we'll do.
Yeah, we can do. We'll do something from Fort Park for Fright Nights.
Okay, sick.
So watch this space. It will not be live like this is. It'll be pre-recorded stuff, but we will do something from there all together. That would be fun. Okay, so moving on from Disney Halloween to our final topic of the evening, which is something that we've kind of already covered before, in so much as I said this would happen, didn't I, Ollie?
You called it, Ben. Ben, you called it. Seriously, like, I was surprised. I mean, I haven't watched the ride-throughs, like I said, in like episode 1, I think it was. And you were like, this ride is dismal. All you see is a couple of characters zoom past you on the ride, and it's a pile of shit. And you were right.
Yeah, no, I was. So the rumor, which is being more and more heavily talked about right now, is that Avengers Assemble Flight Force, which used to be the rock and roller coaster starring Aerosmith at Disneyland Paris, that has just reopened with the Avengers campus, is so bad that Disney are going to close it at the beginning of next year for a major update, because they took a poorly themed ride and they made it an unthemed ride, and then they opened it into a new land.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Flight Force fail.
I called it, didn't I? I called it. I said this was going to happen.
100%. Yeah.
Because
Sorry,
even Lisa, who is still not here, but even Lisa has ridden this ride and said, this ride is awful.
Did you ride it? You've been on it?
Not yet, no. I'm going to be riding it in October. But
I'll ride it. I'm riding it in September.
You're riding it in September, so you can give us your first-hand account, and I'll give us my first-hand account from this. But it looks awful.
Where are you going to Disneyland Paris in September, or Ollie? Yeah.
Yeah. So
you're going to Paris in September and Florida in October.
I'm doing a double header this autumn. Yeah, it's going to be sick. Unfortunately, Paris won't be Halloweened by then, I don't think. They tend to go last week of September, so I might just miss some Halloween stuff at Paris, but it'll be full on in Walt Disney World. Anyway, Flight Force. Yeah, so, John.
It's Halloween when we were there, wasn't it, Ben?
What was that?
Say again, sorry?
Paris was Halloween when we were there.
Oh, yes, it was, yeah.
It was, yeah.
Sorry, Paris dresses up Halloween like the last week of September, and they start events the first week of October.
Yeah, it was full swing Halloween when Barry and Susan went to Disneyland Paris.
Yeah, and Susan.
When Barry and Susan went.
Flight Force. Rock and Roller Coaster was like it was like a roller coaster indoors, but with lights and music and all kinds of sensory kind of experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And they've gone to, with the Avengers overhaul, they've gone to a dark room, a roller coaster in the dark, with a couple of characters flying by you on screens every couple of seconds.
I mean, they didn't even put.
Every couple of minutes.
So you're meant to be in space, and they didn't even put dotted lights around the room to simulate stars, right? They didn't even do that. It is abysmal. It is dismal Disney at its best, right?
Yeah.
Have you ridden Fast and Furious at Universal?
No, I haven't, and I don't think Ollie's been to Florida before. Have you?
God,
no.
It was the most overhyped and underperforming ride ever.
No, I've seen POVs, I've seen ride-throughs of it, John, and I think this is worse.
It was shocking.
Honestly, obviously the ride is a bog standard, off-the-shelf Vekoma Booster Bowl roller coaster, right? Launches 0 to 65 mile an hour. It works well. It's an old roller coaster, and it probably had some loving TLC whilst they were doing the overhaul. It launches 0 to 65 mile an hour up into a serpent roll. Does a few. It's called a booster bowl because it's all set within a bowl. The track moves around in a bowl, and it's got another corkscrew in it, and it comes out. It's a good ride. It's a solid ride. It's a rickety ride. I will say that
Ricky is the Wicker Man.
Oh, Wicker Man was good though, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Wicker Man was good. I liked it. The Wicker Man
really
what was it? What's it called? Thinking something Gardens.
Busch Gardens.
Busch Gardens.
Busch Gardens.
Yeah.
No, Cypress Gardens.
Cypress Gardens. Yeah.
Because they had a huge wooden roller coaster, but it's not there anymore, is it?
No, Cypress Gardens is now Legoland Florida, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah. But this ride is fine, and I've ridden it in the dark before, actually, at a special event. They gave us it with the lights off on the very last night that they ever operated Rock and Roller Coaster. So I was there at that private after hours event.
Music as well.
No music, no nothing. Right? They turned everything off, and we rode it in the complete silence. And it was, Was
that not quite boring?
It was actually, when you're used to riding it in a certain way, for sensory issues, it was very, very different. It's like the Tower of Terror that same night. Well, it wasn't that same night, actually, but the Tower of Terror, they gave us the Tower of Terror's old ride sequence in the dark, completely silent, without anything going for it. And that was pretty cool. And in fact, a couple of friends who are cast members gave me and Lisa that experience in the middle of the day whilst there was... Yeah, they took us, didn't they? They just took us out the queue, and then people wanted to come into our bay, and they were like, nope, you can't come in. And then they put us in a private lift in the middle of the day and sent us off completely silent. And it is very different. It is very, very different. But this ride is an absolute disappointment in my eyes. And
I mean, it's hilarious that they've launched this new land with, one ride effectively, because each ride is a half a ride effectively, because the Spider-Man ride is a rip-off of Toy Story Mania.
Yep.
The roller coaster is just basically a dark roller coaster inside. So yeah, I mean, like all of the bells and whistles they've kind of thrown onto it, it's just embarrassing, really.
Yeah, they give it a nice animatronic Iron Man in the queue, and that's about it. Yeah. And a nice wraparound LED board. It's not even like a screen or a projected screen or anything on the front of the building, and it's like polishing a turd, unfortunately. And they weren't able to polish that turd effectively, and
No.
this is what we end up with.
So what do you think they're going to do, Ben? Do you think they're going to be like more screens?
I think more
screens.
I think more screens.
More screens.
I think what will end up happening is they'll probably project space scenes onto the walls, right?
Yeah. And the screens will be bigger, and they will have more characters.
But somebody says in the comments they went on opening day, but the screens were super obvious. Surely you don't want the screens to be obvious.
No, you definitely don't want the screens to be obvious. There's actually people in the comments. That's quite interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. But
please like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Cheers.
Worst Disney roller coaster ever.
Okay.
It's almost as if being tight-fisted with budgets and making countless cutbacks to appease shareholders lead to lackluster results.
Yep. I'm liking this.
Yeah, they should be on the show.
And the first one is, boy, for Bob Chapek to be disappointed, the ride must be a cup of suck.
Yep.
The Avengers areas at these parks are super boring to begin with. I have zero interest in them.
Well, look, we'll go back to we've spoken about Avengers Campus at Disneyland Paris on the first episode, but we'll speak about it. It is just an industrial concrete slab, essentially, isn't it? It's got no character at all. The only thing going for it is nice Avengers style music playing in the area, in my opinion.
And the characters fighting on the rooftops. How long that lasts, I don't know. But the characters fighting on the rooftops is cool.
Yeah. Anyway, John, you were saying?
Yeah, but why don't they do stuff like? I mean, they could do stuff like Tony Stark's lab, and the the aircraft carrier thing. They could do that kind of thing. They could do all these. The possibilities are endless when it comes
to John, but they don't want to spend the money. That's the point. They want to get people in for the cheapest amount they can.
And especially now that we've had the closure for 2 years, effectively.
Yeah, okay, but you've got to speculate to accumulate.
Yeah, and there's always been talk of this Avengers Quinjet major e-ticket attraction that's going to be a one-of-a-kind, a first of its kind. They said it was going to be expanding into the Lights Motors action area over in Paris, and it's earmarked for expansion in California as well. But at this particular moment in time, especially with the Paris expansion and how we're now getting, oh, well, that might be Star Wars, that might not, who knows, right? And then when you go up to the boards in the park, it's very clearly Star Wars still on the boards, but they're going, don't know.
I think you're right though. I think they might even cancel Star Wars entirely. They'll put Frozen behind the lake, and they'll expand Avengers Campus with one more ride. You're right. That's it.
I think that might be the case, and then they'll just have these 2 lovely expansion pads for 2 new lands that will never get filled, or they may fill them, further down the line. But I mean, Natasha said herself, she said the theme for the 3rd area is not yet decided, despite the fact, like I said once again, the concept art that was released clearly showed Star Wars 3 years ago, and that concept art is sitting on the construction walls right now in the parks, and you can go and look at it. And I think there's X-wing fighters in the picture. It's very clearly Star Wars.
Who owns the volume?
Who owns the volume? Disney.
So why don't they set a volume as a ride or as a walkthrough or something? They could. I mean, imagine the possibilities. They're endless.
That would be sick. To be fair, that's actually a really good idea.
Yeah, they could just use volume tech in some kind of walkthrough attraction. That would be really cool. I'm
not daft. I'm available for hire, Disney, if you wish to consider it.
That's probably you might be the first person that's thought of that, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they've got this wonderful tech, right?
Yeah.
They've got this wonderful, wonderful tech, and they should exploit it. They should use it.
Yeah. I mean, you could have people walking in a circle, right?
Yeah.
And they could be traveling for miles through different scenes and different, a different city, everything. They could be doing the whole thing, and they wouldn't know that they were walking in a circle.
Yeah.
Genius. Absolute genius.
It would be really, really good.
That is amazing.
Cheers. I'll drink to that. My non-alcoholic drink. Are you just on the straight rum now? Is that where you are?
Great run.
Trademark Jason Descent.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely. Right. So before we get out of here, John wanted to touch on the flood at the Land Pavilion at Epcot that recently happened.
That was a good flood, though.
It was a good flood, yeah. But Florida floods a lot, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah,
it, really
it does flood a lot, but I've never seen people knee deep before. Knee deep.
I remember once I was, this is many, many years ago, I was stuck on the cable car at the Magic Kingdom. Yeah. That doesn't even exist anymore, right? And we got stuck there because of a lightning storm, so they refused to run it anymore. And we were just sitting there in the most torrential rain and lightning storm that was going on and flooding everywhere. It was fantastic.
So cool. Yeah.
It's fantastic. And I was a small child. I was kind of terrified at the time, but looking back on it now, fantastic. It really was.
But do you get your money back if Disneyland floods while you're in the park?
I don't think so, John. They're not going to give people their money back. They might give you a ticket to come another day.
It basically happens every day.
They'll give you a replacement ticket. That's okay.
Yeah, they'll give you a replacement ticket, but they're not actually going to give you your green back, John. No. We're Disney. We've got your money. You're not getting it back. We have to spend money on more really shit shows for Disney Plus.
I think there's a disclaimer. Like if you read like the website when you buy a ticket, there's like the disclaimers are like just like 3 or 4 big thick paragraphs long. So I'm sure
absolutely.
And they like in like the late summer and like autumn, it happens every single day in Florida. Like everyone knows, get out of the park mid-afternoon because it's going to piss down.
Yeah. Well, it rains every day at 4.
Yeah.
But
every day at 4.
20 minutes.
Right. And on that note, I think it might be time to wind this up. I think we've covered everything we want to cover.
Yeah, no, we definitely have. Yeah, good chat, guys.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. John, have you enjoyed it?
I have enjoyed it. Yes. So, I hope to contribute in some small way, despite my limited knowledge of all things Disney.
I think it's been good that you've been there.
I think I like the perspective of a layman.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I do. I like the perspective of someone that's looking at this stuff and reading these articles from a completely different point of view that me and Ollie might be, right? I think the dynamic works well.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you can't make every show, you can't make every show. But this show is live every Saturday at 8 p.m. So come and join us for a bit more Dismal Disney. John, anything you want to say before we go?
No, I've had a great time. It's been spiffing, old bean, spiffing.
Ollie?
I would say that if anyone is watching this who isn't just watching it to hate us, that they maybe like and they maybe subscribe. And I know that's that's cliche, but I would say because we're just starting up, we're on episode 3, it's important. And if you're not just hate watching us, then I would say like, subscribe, because it will
and share it out. Share it
exactly. Share it with your friends.
What ultimately we do this for is because we do enjoy going to these places and we do enjoy this content, right? But
they will get all my money. They will get all my money for the rest of time. I'm not going to. That's undoubted.
But we are also in the position, and I think rightfully so to an extent, to criticize the product that we consume, right? If we are consuming this product, we want the best value for our money, and so that's what we are asking for with this show. We are pointing out where we think we're not getting value for money and how it can be improved. So if people are hate watching us and don't understand that, we don't care. It's as simple as that. So
exactly, I agree with you. I think we were talking about Disney adults earlier. Disney adults will give them a free pass on everything because they're getting free shit and they don't care. They just want the Instagram likes. Whereas we enjoy the parks for what they are. We want to hold them to account. We want the product to be the best it can be. And yeah, that's why we want to do it.
Yeah, value for money.
money.
Value for money, like John says, and you know, we pay for this product, and we pay a lot of money for this product, and we want the best value out of what we pay. And on that note, we will see you next Saturday at 8 p.m. for Dismal Disney episode 4. Thanks for watching, and good night.